Hi, how you doing? KGee here, and I'm really excited because today I'm interviewing my good friend of over 30 years, Karl Gordon, aka KGee. He's one of the UK's pioneers of hip hop, and I first met him when he was 18 in Outlaw Posse. And now he's coming all the way up to the Highlands to Cromarty to play in the stables at the Hip Hop Yacht Rock After Party on Saturday 23rd of September. Yo, Karl, how you doing?
Good, man. I'm ready to go. I'm looking forward to coming up to Cromarty.
It's going to be good, but you're sort of in and out, aren't you? Coming in at Saturday 2 o'clock, and then you've got to leave the nightmare flight at 7 on Sunday morning. So it's short and sweet. But I was going to say, so I've known you since Outlaw Posse. So how did you get to that point from, where did you start and how did you sign a record label at such a young age?
When I was about 15 years old in a school called Henry Compton in Fulham, I used to walk past this shop in Hammersmith every day, and I'd seen this film called Wild Style. And I saw this DJ and scratching and cutting and doing tricks on the decks. And I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. I became obsessed, and I had to get myself a pair of turntables, but I had no money. So I had to get a paper round, and I saved up £5 a week for about a year or two. Bought my Technics 1200s, which I still have to this day, which is a testament to the technology from them times.
That shows a really good work ethic, even at that young age. You had a goal and you worked every day to get it.
I used to walk past the shop and see them in the window, and then every week £5 for like 2 years, and then I had to carry them home, and they're really heavy. I had to walk from Hammersmith to Shepherd's Bush. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, Beto B, he was my classmate, could rap. And we started to make really rough demo tapes, if you can even call them demo tapes, in my basement. And I figured out how to loop up a few records and did some scratching, and he'd rap on it. Anyway, we had this cassette with our demos on it. And I took it to a shop that we used to buy records. And it was called Spin-Offs in Fulham. And there was a DJ called Richie Rich. That was a famous scratch and mix DJ and producer. Anyway, I had this tape in my pocket for about 3 months, and I was scared to play it to him just in case he was just like, nah. Yeah, it's whack. So anyway, when there was no one in the shop, I had the courage to give him the tape, and he played it, and he was like bobbing his head, and he was like, this is dope. Who produced it? And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know what a producer was. He was like, who put the music together? Who put it together? And I was like, I did. And he goes, okay, this is great. How do you feel about coming to the recording studio? I've just set up a record label called G Street Records.
Yeah, I remember G Street. That was just outside the West End in like central London.
Yeah, I'll remember the name of it in a minute. But anyway, it was in G Street in central London. He invited us down. So we went down there. I went down there just with a box of records, walked in the studio and was like, I have no idea how to use any of this equipment at all. I never knew how a studio worked. It just looked like walking into the Starship Enterprise. But we had a good engineer. I knew what I wanted to do in my head, but I had no technical ability. So I had to explain to the engineer, I want to loop up this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and da-da-da. And we ended up making a record, and which was released on G Street, and it was our first release called Party. It was a party tune, man. I mean, we were kids, man. We hadn't even done anything yet except for party.
What we got to talk about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. We've done this record, which was well received and underground. There wasn't a massive hip hop scene at the time, and we were probably, one of the early pioneers.
Who were the other acts around at that time? Because we're probably talking at the beginning of British hip hop.
Yeah, you're talking like mid 80s, man. So you probably had people like London Posse, MC Duke, Caveman, who else? Demon Boys, MC Mello. There was a few cats. There wasn't hundreds of us. There was a few of us though, and there was the UK scene started to bubble up, and we done our second single, Original Dope, which became massive in the clubs, and then we got a deal to make an album, and yeah, that's basically how it all started. I learned how to produce on the job.
sometimes that's the best way. And I think if we go into the hip hop, history, that's how it started in America. People, they just found out they could do something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. So
by accident.
Exactly. So turntables and records were our instruments. Do you know what I mean? We never had guitars, and although I did have a drum kit at one point, because I did learn how to play the drums when I was in school, but as far as instruments went, we couldn't really afford instruments, so we used records stolen from our parents and turntables, and that was kind of it, man. And my dad was a DJ as well, because when he came over from Jamaica, he had a sound system, so there was always loads of records in the house, and I used to just go through his records looking for like samples and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he probably didn't know that I nicked half his records.
I was going to say, well, yeah, did he know that? Like you
No, but he had a record shop as well, and I worked in his record shop.
Like with your dad, there must have been a reggae influence, a big reggae influence on you.
Definitely. You wouldn't kind of hear it in Outlaw Posse, although we did do a couple of reggae tinged tunes that never came out, but reggae has always been a staple in my production style. I mean, I've done a couple of reggae tunes, with All Saints. Reggae is always there in the background, along with hip hop lurking in there. Do you know what I mean?
And so, where did the name Outlaw Posse come from?
There was a film on that night called Boogie Outlaws, and I said to Bello, "Yes, that's the name, Boogie Outlaws." And he was like, "Nah, mate, not Boogie Outlaws." Yeah, he was like, "Drop the boogie." He goes, "How about Outlaw Posse?" Nice. And I was like, yeah, all right, that's kind of got a little ring to it. That was about as much as the thought process was.
There was no deep, meaningful
thought
going into, we're calling us this because it represents this. It was just
we weren't particularly outlaws or criminals or landed by the police. We were just two young kids making hip hop records, man. That was it.
What did it feel like when you had your first singles out there and having an album?
And you know what? It was amazing. And there was a music magazine called Echoes. I don't know if you remember it. I think it was called Black Echoes first, and then it was called Echoes. And I remember seeing a review of our single in there, and it was a good review as well. And we were just like over the moon. And we were amongst some really, really good artists. That's when I was like, I thought we'd made it then. Do you know what I mean? I thought we'd made it just because we had a review in one magazine. But then we started to get notoriety with each single. And by the time the album come out, because don't forget, UK hip hop was young then, man. It was brand new. So by the time the album come out, we were kind of a big deal, man. And then we went on many tours around Europe. We supported Arrested Development. We went on tour of KRS-One. We were on tour of Queen Latifah. We done shows of Ultramagnetic MCs, Public Enemy, EPMD, House of Pain, Naughty by Nature. So imagine leaving school, listening to hip hop, and then next minute you're on stage with your hero.
Yeah. That must be mental.
And we're still teenagers. You know what I mean? And then we traveled to America to do a video. We done a video in Brazil. This shit was unheard of back then. So yeah, it was good. It was amazing time. I think our first record come out in about 88, and then the last record come out in about 92, 93. But by then I was remixing.
I was going to be, my next question is, how did that change? Did you go from being an artist to...
Because I was the DJ producer, I was DJing in clubs as well at this time. And I started to get a bit of a reputation as a good DJ. And then I was starting to do remixes for... Our first remix was Misha Paris and Omar, Should Have Known Better, which was a massive tune in the clubs. And then from there, I started getting calls from record companies. Can you remix this? Can you remix that? I mean, I remixed hundreds of records, man. And then when your name starts getting out there, the work starts coming in. And then, I went from hip hop to working with pop acts to jazz acts to, all kinds of different artists.
And then when was the point you invented hip hop with Saints? And a lot of people call you the fifth member, and the other thing like a lot of people probably don't know, but I was there, and this is possibly one of the proudest moments of my life, was when I saw you walk Shaznay down the aisle for her wedding to our friend Christian.
Yeah.
And, you took Shaznay's father role, and it was just insane. So how did that, where did that begin?
So
at that point.
So the Outlaw Posse journey kind of ended, not in a bad way. We're still friends to this day, but that part of my journey kind of ended around 92, 93. And then I was managed by a woman called Meg Matthews, Noel Gallagher ex. So she was my manager at the time, and she said to me, there's these couple of girls called All Saints, and they're looking for a producer and some tracks. So I went there, and I'd done this backing track. I left them with this track and didn't hear nothing from them for a while. And then I got a phone call saying, listen, they love the track and they've written a song. They want to see what you think. So I went and picked up the cassette. I was in my car, and it was all I heard was dun 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 dun. I know where it's at. And I was like, this is kind of cool, man. And I listened to the whole song, and I was like, yeah, there's something in that. Anyway, from that,
I'm going to interject you there. I don't know if you can remember, but when me and Nicholas, we were working with you, doing our little thing, and I can remember you playing me that track going, I'm working with these girls called All Saints. I think they've got something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
I remember that day clearly. You know what I mean?
So in between doing I Know Where It's At and then finally kicking off was probably about 4 or 5 years. Something like that. Because we were just in the studio just doing demos, and then getting turned down by every fucking record label. Do you know what I mean? Until one label finally was like, yes. And I think this was due to the Spice Girls being out at the time. So when I was doing All Saints, the Spice Girls didn't exist. So by the time the Spice Girls came out, there was an appetite for girl bands. But what I had done inadvertently was do the complete opposite of what the Spice Girls were doing. They were doing pop, and I was doing, like you said earlier, hip hop. That's what I called it, because the girls loved hip hop. So I was just basically doing hip hop beats with them singing on it. So it was completely different. So at first, every label was turning them down, and then London Records picked them up, and I Know Where It's At, which was the first track I gave them, became their first single and their first breakout single. And then that album went on to sell crazy amounts. Like, it was in the charts for like, I don't know, 68 weeks or some shit. So,
and I'm guessing some of the discs that we can see behind you are from.
Yeah, actually, that one there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I don't even know, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 5 times platinum, 6 times platinum. That's just in this country. I mean, it went platinum in a lot of different countries, so it probably sold in the region of 10 mil, something like that.
That's a lot.
They were huge, and then my whole life just changed. Whole different level.
Yeah, because it's quite interesting, because I've sort of been all the way along on your journey from Outlaw Posse all those times. I've been there, but on the sidelines and not knowing all the little details. So it's like really interesting for me personally to.
Well, when you think about it, it's like, if it wasn't for Outlaw Posse, there wouldn't be All Saints. I'm not saying they wouldn't exist, but the body of work that we created and the new sound wouldn't exist. I was a DJ, a young kid DJ with no money, just doing my thing, and then the stars aligned. I met these girls, we hit it off, and the world took notice.
And from there, how does that feel when when something's going that big globally?
Well, I thought I already smashed it anyway.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's levels of smashing it, isn't there?
Yeah, which I discovered. It was like, there definitely is levels. There's getting respect on the street, getting respect in the clubs, and then there's getting respect worldwide. And then, you're traveling clubs I couldn't get into before, I can all of a sudden get in now.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting, a friend of ours, Eric, or Me One, that was in Technotronic,
Yeah.
and he always says, that whole thing of getting the credibility on the street and all the thing. He goes, but respect don't pay the bills.
Respect doesn't pay the bills, right? But you need to get the respect first in order to pay the bills later.
Yeah.
If you don't get the respect for your craft first, then the success probably won't come unless it's a freak, which happens now.
You have to build up those foundations, and then
100%. So by the time I had my first #1 record, from making my first record to getting a #1 record took probably about 10 years.
Yeah, there's, like they say, there's no overnight success. An overnight success takes 10 years.
Well, overnight success is viral, right? You're here today, gone tomorrow. So I had a 10-year career before I had a #1. And when I had a #1, that's when I was like, oh shit, this is success. Okay.
Next level success, yeah.
Yeah, next level success, man. And then, people start treating you differently. But I'd already got respect anyway, on enough to feel good about what I was doing.
And then you used to go out with them.
We were a family, man. Do you know what I mean? We've done everything together.
You were usually the DJ on, for a lot of concerts.
So that's why I was known as a fifth member, because I was with them all the time. We were just as family. We'd worked together for a long time before everything blew up. So anytime
then we're 5 years before that.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were in the studio with no food, can't afford to park the car, can't afford to buy lunch, sharing a Twix and a packet of crisps. We went through hard times, man. But at the time, it didn't feel like hard times, but I can look back and say, we put the work in, and we struggled, man. And then the time it blew up, they made sure that I was with them. Anytime they had to go away, they were like, K's coming. Anytime they had to do a tour, K's coming. Even the interviews, K's coming. They never left me out of anything.
And so from that, because you had the unusual thing, and this is, for me, it was quite interesting, was, so I always knew you were behind, either a keyboard or behind the decks or everything, and you were never the front man. Yeah. And I know you, you're naturally quite a shy person. Yeah. So then suddenly you're like, you DJ, doing clubs and doing stuff with All Saints. And then suddenly you get a solo deal and you're the front man. I mean, please tell, because I suddenly hadn't seen you, and then suddenly you're this solo artist, which sort of, to me, was totally against how I knew you.
Yeah. So this whole KGee persona, I probably subconsciously invented, because like you said, I was quite shy and always behind the scenes, right? So then I had these blonde dreadlocks and all this kind of shit. And it was, I could appear to be flamboyant, but I wasn't really. It was just a show, really, if I'm honest. So after All Saints blew up and, we're doing our thing, and I've worked with all these other record labels, I really wanted to make my own album, but I had no intention of rapping or being the front man. What I wanted to do was be like the UK P. Diddy, right? Where he's the man behind the music and everything. And then you get your Biggie Smalls and your
featuring,
right? So anyway, so I got a deal, quite a big deal with Sony Records, right? And all I said, I've just put a little word out that I was thinking about making a record. Then there was these battles between the labels, like, we want to sign him, we want to sign him. And then I got a deal with a label called Instant Karma that was with part of Sony. So anyway, I spent about a year making this record. I went to Sony in the boardroom with all the suits, played the record, which was a straight hip hop record. And they were like, okay, so what are you doing on this record? And I was like, I made it. I made the record. I'm hosting it. And it's my, it's people I know from the industry that are featuring on it. And they were like, well, what are you doing on it? And I was like, oh, God. I was looking at you, what am I doing on it? But
I made all the music. What more do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. They were like, well, we signed you. I'm like, I know. and I'm a producer. So this is the record with the features. They were like, no, we want you to be the front man. And I was like, oh no, what?
Is that your worst nightmare?
That was my worst. That was my worst nightmare. My worst nightmares. So they were just like, you're gonna have to go back in. We want you to be the front man. And I was like, fuck. Okay. So I had to go in and then make an album as the front man.
What did that feel like? What did that feel like?
It was the most scary, daunting thing that I've ever done, because it's not what I wanted to do. But I'd already signed a huge deal, and you know, I just had to.
You had to do it, yeah.
I had to do it, man. And you know, I could rap. I've been around rap my whole life. You know, so I could always rap. I rapped on a few of the Outlaw Posse songs and all that kind of shit. And you know, I used to rap with Bella all the time, so I could rap. But it was not something I was that comfortable with at the time, like as a solo artist with carrying the whole thing. Yeah, so the first video I did, I think it might have been, legend has it that it was the most expensive video by a debut artist in the UK.
And that is when I first sort of knew that you were doing a solo thing. And it was something like, glossy, do you know what I mean? It was like American.
Yeah, it was like it was a 2-day shoot. We hired out the biggest club in the West End. I think it was the Hippodrome at the time. I had dancers, there was extras, there was like film crews. It was so crazy that I was standing there going, I've actually really got to do this for real now. Do you know what I mean? And then I had to do like tours and shows. And I remember when I had to do like MTV and tours, like small UK tours and stuff, I had to do like a school tour and a uni tour and all this type of shit. And I remember physically, the anxiety was making me want to be sick before I went on stage, because I was by myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to that. And I was just like, oh, do you know what? If I'm honest, I hated every minute of it.
I was going to say, knowing you as I do, I would imagine that you would, it was, yeah, as I said, it was probably your nightmare. And you're giving it, you know, everyone's giving you this massive persona and all this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it's not you. And that, you didn't want to do it. So it's like.
No, I didn't want to do it. And it was like, be careful what you wish for. Because I wanted a record deal, which I got, but I didn't want to front anything.
It's a little bit like Pharrell Williams, I think, you know, with him being, you know, when they're Neptunes, and then suddenly he's made to be a front man, and he wasn't really, you know, he wasn't really a singer and all that.
No, exactly. It's, you know what? It's something that you have to kind of grow into, and it's something that you have to be prepared for. I wasn't prepared for it. I was happy being on stage. I was happy doing the decks and happy, you know, saying the odd thing, and that was kind of it. I was just happy with that. Do you know what I mean? I never wanted the fame and the adulation and all that type of shit. I was.
I think, you know, we know between us, and they're all good friends of us, we know a lot of people that are seriously famous. And when you're amongst those people, you go, I don't actually want that. Do you know what I mean? You go, yeah, I like the rewards and I want to be really good at my job, but I don't want that people asking for autographs, taking photos all the time.
Yeah, and that was a weird thing as well. So when people asked me for autographs, I would always look behind me like, you want my autograph? Like, for real? Are you serious? Like, I always think they're taking the piss. Do you know what I mean? Just like autographs, it's just all weird. The whole concept of it was just weird, man.
And once you finished that, did you take a bit of time out before coming back doing producing and DJ?
By the luck of the gods, that record company spent so much money on everything that they actually went under. So that was the end of that for me. And I was just
so you're out of your contract.
I'm out of my contract.
I'm guessing you signed, like, if you signed a massive deal, I'm guessing it was a multiple album deal.
Yeah, it was a multiple album deal, but I never got to that. So when they went down, I was fucking happy. Which is weird to say, right? I was happy. I mean, look, I'm always proud of everything I do, but it was a nightmare. You know, I just wasn't prepared for it. It wasn't something that I was comfortable doing. But yeah, so that came to an abrupt end. And then I just continued producing records for other acts, and where I was happy just writing songs and producing tracks for various people. That was my comfort zone.
What sort of music did you go back to? Were you going back to the whole pop thing, or were you doing underground stuff, hip hop, or a mixture of stuff?
I was doing a mixture. I mean, if you look on my wall, there's Jessie J, there's Rod Stewart of all people, there's Jamie Cullum, there's Sugar Jones, there's Damage, American artists, what's his name, Carl Thomas. So I've worked with an array of different people. Do you know what I mean? It's from R&B, pop, jazz, rock. Yeah.
Most of the time we probably spent together is at clubs with you DJing. I'd say most of the most fun, best times and nights of my life I've probably spent with you. And so you were doing a lot of, DJing in the clubs. So how did this whole sort of Snoop and Busta Rhymes, how did you get to work with them?
My DJing was my first love. DJing was always my first love. Although I love producing, DJing was always my first love. So after my deal, I kind of got my head down and just got back into what I loved doing, which was DJing.
And that's probably because you just come from having to do something that you really didn't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So then
do what I want to do.
Yeah, so I wanted to do what I want to do, where I'm comfortable. I wanted to get back in my zone and just like be free again. So I was doing residencies like fucking all over the world, man. I was flying to Ayia Napa, then to Ibiza, then I was doing Estonia and Eastern Europe places and all this type of shit. And there was an agent that called me and said, yo, Busta Rhymes and Snoop Dogg are doing a tour around Europe, and we'd love you to be the opening DJ for them. And I was like, yes.
That must be almost the dream job.
Of course it is, man, because I get to play hip-hop music to hip-hop fans in stadiums.
Yeah, with two sort of...
With two of my favourite artists of all time.
Yeah,
on a tour bus with Snoop Dogg.
To do what you love with the people you love on a large scale, that is dope.
Exactly, man. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just getting high with Snoop on the bus. Yeah, we're just having a ball, man, and just going to I can't even remember half the places we did, but
I'm not surprised in that cloud of smoke.
The cloud of smoke. Every time the doors opened for the bus, it was just like smoke everywhere. And we stayed in nice hotels, DJ'd at some awesome events, man, in some great venues and stadiums, playing hip hop to hip hop crowds. To Snoop and Busta Rhymes fans. It's like that's easy to me. That's not even a job. That's like getting paid.
You'd actually do it for nothing, wouldn't you? You're getting
100%, and I was getting paid well to do something I love, so it wasn't like work.
I hope anybody listening to this realises how lucky we are in Cromarty to having you come up on Saturday, 23rd of September today.
Yeah, man. Cromarty, well, funny you should say that, because I'm looking forward to coming to Cromarty. Last time I came there, I had a great time. Obviously, I was with you and Naftali. We went to a film festival, then we went to your event. And the people are really friendly. They look like they love to have a good time. In fact, I know they like to have a good time. Yeah. So they embraced me. And
that was a fun weekend. It's like, and it was the film festival that weekend, so that was a big thing. And now we've got the Rome Regatta, so you're coming in on another really big weekend for Cromarty. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So and what? Go on.
And of course, as you know, it coincides with 50 years of hip hop, and that's my thing. And hip hop is a worldwide phenomenon, and it's nice to come to a place like Cromarty, where I'm sure, there's probably not the biggest hip hop scene there, but I know for a fact there's people there that love hip hop. So it'd be good to come there and bring some flavour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what can we expect from you on Saturday the 23rd?
More to the point, it's what I expect from the crowd, because I'm a DJ that reads the crowd. So I'm a party DJ. So I feed directly from what I see. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, you know, it's going to be hip hop orientated, but, you know, I'll go off piece. I'll be dropping all kinds of different stuff. I'm just going to gauge it as I go along, but it's going to be the party's going to be banging. I like to take people on a journey. So expect the unexpected.
And also because of your background, and I know we did, you know, as when we went on a gig out to Verbia, you know, when it was a very mixed crowd, did a set there, you know, it was just your music. It's all over the place. That was a fun weekend.
Yeah, but you know, the crowd dictates what I play.
And I think with listening to your background and your story, you know, there's so many different influences in what you listen to and were into, but also all the different artists. I mean, Rod Stewart, you know, that and Slash, you work with Slash, Rod Stewart and people like that. So it's like the people you've worked with are all across the board. And I think you put that into your DJ. Even though it's a hip hop night, you're going to go off piece.
But the thing is, hip hop is all about embracing different cultures, different music, different styles. And because hip hop is born out of sampling, you know, we take you might take a Chinese record or an Indian record or African record, and it's all about sounds and how you put it together. But what ties hip hop all together is the beats. And then you sprinkle the flavor on top, the spice. Do you know what I mean? But hip hop is a hybrid of influences and sounds. Nothing is off limits. Do you know what I mean? Be prepared for an eclectic mix.
No, that's what I want to hear. And, you know, and a lot of people, you know, like, well, I like the night. And I'm trying to explain to people that exactly what you've so eloquently said about hip hop. It takes from all the influences it's got and the samples, so it goes off piece, as you say. But I'm so excited to have you coming up again. It's always a pleasure to stay in my house and see the beautiful view and get the beauty of Highlands.
Where's Zorro?
He's walked in, he's walked out, he's sat on the bed at the moment.
I had that big lump sleeping with me last time.
Did he come in your room?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, 23rd of September at the Hip Hop Yacht Rock After Party.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man.
Thank you so much. Wow. What an experience to interview my good friend. And just get your head round that he's played in the biggest stadiums in the world with Snoop and Busta Rhymes. And then he's coming all the way up to Cromarty to play at the Stables in our Hip Hop Yacht Rock After Party on Saturday, 23rd of September. How lucky are we? So if you haven't got your tickets yet, then please book them now, today, because there's not that many left, and you do not want to miss out